Hello.
Good morning, everybody. Steve, I've always wanted to do a talk with you. I didn't know it would be our very last talk here at the Salt Lake Center that we would be doing. We'd be sharing this time together. And to all of you, wow. I've been attending this center since 1997. And I've seen a lot of these faces in different physical settings before, right? But wow, you all are my spiritual community, and we're so excited to share this story with you. And we're very excited to have some of Steve's family here with us also, who have been right by our sides and have shared so many of these amazing pieces of the story as they've happened. So today we have been asked to share this story. The only other experience I've ever had like this was when Golda and Gordon shared their story once with us, and this has probably been 20 years ago when they told the story of their home and how it came to be in Heber. And I remember then being so enormously impacted by the power and strength of God and of manifestation, which is what we do here. So Steve and I are going to tell the story. We've been practicing this for a couple of hours, and he just flew in from St. Louis last night. He's been with the grandchildren for a couple of weeks, and so we think we know exactly how this is going to go, don't we?
That's right.
Yes, we do.
We just decided to do this morning.
So we're going to try to keep this narrative moving, and we've got some things to share as we go. So it's important that we start the story in the right time and place, and that was about 10 years ago. I had been fired from Deer Valley Resort again, and was home out of work and collecting unemployment and not knowing what to do with myself. I was at the end of a terrible relationship. I was in the middle of a drug addiction, and I was trying to see my way forward. I think out was too big of an ask, but see my way forward. And so 10 years ago, I spent all of this time while unemployed creating physical representation of what I wanted to be in my life. One of my bedrooms turned into a three-dimensional vision board, really 4 walls, ceiling, of a bookstore and a hotel. For those of you who don't know, I've been a hotelier all my adult life and a bookseller for 23 years now. So 10 years ago, I spent a lot of time and energy pushing into the universe this idea of what my future would look like. And at the end of that time, when I went back to work, I was hired at the King's English, which turned out to be a 10-year adventure that I absolutely had to have. And I also manifested him. He came along during that time too. I always have to be careful. I just blurted that out, huh? He's not crazy when I say I manifested him, like, you know.
I love it.
It wasn't quite like that. So I got hired, and the story goes that I rolled up all of the things that I put on the walls and the ceiling of that room. I knew that I had done whatever spiritual work I was going to do to make that happen someday, but right now I had to go back to work at the King's English. So I went back to work, and I had many, many great years of fun until it wasn't fun anymore, right? And that was about 1.5 years ago.
But he was the event and marketing manager for many years, hosting many different authors and really sharing wonderful experiences with people. So.
And another example of how it had to be this process to get us to where we are. So the King's English started to be a little bit less of a comfortable place for me. I had been the voice and the face of this bookstore for a number of years when it went through a management change after COVID. And the new manager, who is a man that I've known for a long time and respected, he came on board as the new owner to do his thing. And I lasted for about 2.5 years doing his thing. And when it got down to last summer, I was very uncomfortable and very happy and unhappy. I was having nightmares. I was certain that I was somehow inadequate, while knowing that I am perfect, whole, and complete. Right. Knowing that I am always perfect and whole and complete. So we started taking classes. But before we get to the class.
So backing up a little bit, both of us in the last year lost a parent. Rob lost his father in January, and my mother was in 22 September. And for me, this same time frame, it's interesting, a year ago this time, between January and June, around June, I had realized I had gotten into this devil-may-care attitude, not to use any swear words.
What the heck?
But I had gained 30 pounds. I wasn't really taking care of myself. I was just subconsciously dealing with it in a different way. I have a friend that owns that I sang with in a choir, Austin Tony, who owns Cat and Cauldron, which is a metaphysical shop on 47th South and just west of Redwood. And I was talking to him about the situation. He says, you're really still in mourning about your mother's death. And so I thought about that, and he encouraged me to try a week's worth of meditation where I would light a candle, meditate for 15 minutes, set an intention, and then write in my journal about it. And it was such an amazing experience because I thought I had dealt with. My family was so loving. We went through the sale of the house in December, and everybody worked through everything. But I think each of us have dealt with that loss differently. And I was the youngest. I am the youngest in my family, and my mother was always my greatest champion, my greatest. She loved me so much, and such a wonderful experience and example in my life. And growing up, and in figuring out my identity, there was a long time that I didn't feel that I could be myself. And so there was an alter ego or a voice in my head that was always, suicide is always an option. And I never attempted anything, but I don't know why I had that in my mind. And I'm very comfortable in telling you because I know most of you, and you are my chosen family. And so with this meditation, each day I experienced the different stages of grief. I remember the second day it was anger, and I journaled about that, and literally it was the 5 days, 5 stages of grief. On the 6th day, when I was journaling, I had always told myself that I would never commit suicide when my mother was alive, but then when she was gone, there was that question, like, well, what am I going to do now? And she, the thing that I realized, and it was almost like a light came on when I was journaling. It was like, well, what about her legacy? And this it's like there should be a class on how to not cry while you're singing in public or while you're speaking in public. Yeah. But it was such an amazing light that went on in my mind that was just, yes. Go ahead.
And Steve realized that in a lot of ways his living was her legacy, and that whatever he would be going forward to experience. So I saw in Steve for a long time there a lack of willing to do things in a way he was adrift in the sea of his own life. And we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what would relight his fire or what would give him that focus again. So now we get up to this last summer, and we've been going back. I have a son and 3 grandchildren.
In St. Louis, Illinois, 20 miles east of,
in
Belleville.
It's so confusing.
We're moving to Illinois, not Missouri.
St. Louis is in Missouri, 20 miles west of where we are in Illinois.
Yes.
So it's easy to get confused.
So Belleville, Illinois. And the kids live in Mascoutah, 10 miles east.
And they live in a little farm town in the outside of Belleville. So we've been going to visit. Steve has fallen in love with the kids and the grandkids. And then when Steve and I got married, it wasn't for some time after that he looked at me and he said, "Am I a father-in-law?"
Yeah, the whole thing about getting
then that
married.
means I'm a grandpa. Am I a grandpa? He
He's
said.
like, wait a minute, I've never even been a parent. How could I be a grandpa?
All right, so we've been visiting this place, and we've fallen in love with the city and with the area. And then this summer we visited in June.
In June. So there's a 1.5-year-old girl, a 2.5-year-old boy, and a 9-year-old girl that it's been amazing to see. The 9-year-old girl has grown up, and we've seen her, once a year. We've gotten pictures all the time, but every time we had gone to visit, it was like, oh my gosh, what? How can we stay longer? How can we find a way to be a part of these children's lives as they're in their youth?
Mm-hmm. So the summer came along, and we visited St. Louis in June. And then suddenly we got home. Okay, I'm going to take over this narrative. So suddenly we get home, and I wake up in the night to find Steve in the dark next to me in bed with the light of his phone casting, and I'm like, oh, what's going on?
Zillow.
Is it gambling? No, it's not gambling. Is it anything else?
Video game.
No, it's none of that. Oh,
Pictures.
Video games. It's once in a while a video game. But it was real estate. He had discovered inexpensive real estate in St. Louis and in Belleville. And he started. And Steve is a repairman and a handyman. His father was a general contractor, and so was his brother. And he's got years and years of experience rehabilitating homes. And he started seeing these homes that were available for incredibly discounted rates. But that's not the point.
Enter 224 Charles.
The other man.
The other lover.
The other lover, 224 Charles.
It's this house that was
Street.
for sale for $47,000. It was built in 1861, 3,300 square feet, 12-foot ceilings on the main level and the second level, and this long, wonderful hand-carved stairway.
It was that stairway. It was the
I was in love with the
cool
stairway.
curves of that stairway that seduced him. I'm certain of it. So we're looking at this real estate, and he's talking about buying it, and we're thinking, great. In the meantime, we live here. We have work here. I have a job here. Steve has a job here. We manage apartments for my mother.
Multiple jobs.
We've got lots of stuff going on. So then it is time that I have finally, and you guys have heard this, if you've heard me talk, you've heard me talk about the fact that I've taken foundations 5 times. It has taken me 30 years of religious science practice to get through these prerequisites so I can go to practitioner training. We come to the end of summer, and our education core right here in front of me, Selena and Lana, said, you've got one more class to take. You've got 2 classes to choose from. What do you want it to be? And I'm a book man, so I chose the class based on a book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And Lana and Selena said, sure, we'll do it. No sooner that we had done this than things started to change. With the very first class, the very first law is pure potentiality. The fact that we are each pure, absolute potentiality of any opportunity, any idea, any dream. Things started at the bookstore started to change for me. Suddenly, I could look at the people around me who were causing me pain, and suddenly I could be a little bit more compassionate. Or I could see, wow, if I'm pure potential, then that means even he is. and on and on. And so my heart started to soften, and I started to realize that maybe the universe had some other ideas in mind for me.
So we had planned a vacation to Victoria, British Columbia. And beautiful Victorian city. That happens to have a bookstore that's been a bookstore for 60 years in a building that was an old Victorian bank. Very grand columns and
granite columns, like a Greek temple.
And we were in there and we thought, gee, wouldn't it be nice to have a building like this that we could have a bookstore?
So then we came back here to Utah and tucked that memory of that beautiful, it's called Monroe's Books. Alice Monroe, the author's husband, opened it. And still struggling at the King's English. Well, we had another class, and this one was on giving. Second rule of spiritual success is on giving, and that giving includes sharing. So if I am talking to someone, share a prayer. If I have a gift to give that gift. Always without the expectation, which is another huge point. Never expect anything. And I found myself shifting again. But this time I was shifting in a way that made me feel strong and powerful. And I went to my boss and I said, we both know this isn't working out. I am your greatest employee ever. I am the boss of all of your other employees, but this isn't working. And I suggest that you consider firing me. Let me go. Let me go. I'll collect unemployment, and I'll do my own thing. This, by the way, was in a whisper. I was in his office, and we were going back and forth and telling each other exactly what we thought of each other. That was not the most spiritual conversation. But oh my God, I had to get it off my chest for the first time in my life, and I did. And so, in rapid order, he heard my words, and 1 week later, on Thursday, I met with Reverend Cindy in her office to pray for divine right action for every single thing that was happening for us, that there was nothing out of order with any of it. That was Thursday morning at 10 and 11, and at 11 o'clock on Friday morning, I was let go. The King's English let me go, and the idea here was that I was able to create the narrative about my release. And this is where everything shifted, everybody. This is where it happened. Because right now, I had to declare to the public and to the press that we parted as friends, that the King's English and I are friends, and that I'm going to open a bookstore. And putting it out there in the world was the first boost that when we knew that something was about to happen. I was not going to work for anyone again. We were going to open a bookstore, but we didn't know where.
And also simultaneously, I had been on the board of trustees, and I had seen and actually decided to double what I had been giving as tithing, and that was an interesting experience for me because I like to hold on to what I have, and so that law of giving related to this situation also helped to manifest, I believe, what was going on in our lives and what helped these puzzle pieces come together. So this whole time I had seen this home that I was in love with, wanting to purchase and fix up. I was sketching different. It had been divided into 5 separate apartments, and the city had declared that it needed to be put back into a single-family residence, and so we were going to in the first week of November to see the grandkids, and we were going to get to see this home. Well, the week prior, the realtor called me up and said, I'm sorry, it's no longer on the market, it's no longer available. But we arrive in Illinois, and we went directly to the house. Anyway.
He's touching the door.
I walked up to the front door, and I said, my first love, I'm sorry it didn't work out between us.
He did.
And so we were there during the week, and ironically, a day after we got back, it was on the market again. But that's a different story.
Yes. All right. So the second I said that I want to open a bookstore, and this was the day I got fired, I came home to Steve and I cried for half an hour. I went out to run some errands and I came back home. Steve had gone to work. I was alone in the house, and I thought, I'm exhausted. I'm sad. I've been fired. I've got to take a nap. So I lay down on my bed, closed my eyes, and everything happened. All of a sudden, there was a bookstore. All of a sudden, it even had a name. All of a sudden, there was all of this potentiality. All of a sudden, I could see next steps into how I could make it happen for us. The connections I have in the book world here, the education that I could immediately click into. So that very day, that very Friday afternoon, I was back on the phone with friends in the community saying, can I work with you? Can I volunteer with you? I want to keep selling books because we're going to open a bookstore. I went and got a quarter of a cord of wood to meditate and to light and burn in our fireplace. That was all part of it. It was we really did gear ourselves for what we had a feeling was going to be something big. Everybody told me if I was going to be unemployed, I could take naps and read books. I haven't done either one in 3 months. It's just been insane. So daily meditation, and in the meantime, we know that it is going to be a spiritual process. And so I plug back in with my spiritual partner, who is Alana, and Steve and Selena are very tight. So we also knew that we needed to lean into what we know from here, that we need to lean into believing in our pure potential and believing that it's all possible.
So when we were there, we have a friend that's on Main Street that owns several businesses, and he is in the Chamber of Commerce. We talked about the concept of a bookstore in Belleville, and every answer that we got with every question was yes, and it was amazing to hear that support. We weren't quite ready to fully leave. Rob was still thinking the idea of where could we find a bookstore in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, and we work for my mom and manage her apartment. So and we have a housemate. We have an apartment in our basement that we had. So we've got people that rely on us. We have cats that rely on us. There was a lot to be done. So I also immediately started realizing there's other things that we have to treat and move our feet. That's what we believe here, right? Faith without acts is dead. And so I started a business plan. My buddy who owns a bookstore here in town agreed to let me volunteer for him a day a week as a bookseller. And he said, oh, and by the way, here, take my business plan and use it as the foundation for your own. So that became something I started working on every day. I started learning more and more about resources to help me build this business plan, and I magically found a mentor at Southern Illinois State University in the Small Business Planning Center. I'd never heard of any of this before, and the director of that place is now my mentor, and we're wrapping up our business plan now.
And that's where it comes into the law of intention and desire, where we had that intention of what we were looking for. We hadn't quite found where it was going to be, and there was also this point that I realized this relationship with the grandkids was so important. Several times with tears, I was just that I would do whatever I could to be able to have that experience with these children in our lives. And then also to feel the love and acceptance of their parents. There was never any question of me needing to act a certain way or do anything other than just be myself and show up, which is such an amazing blessing. So we were in.
Wait. I have to say to David and Sydney, our son and granddaughter are watching.
Yes.
Hello. And there are no pictures because we decided at the last minute to not show pictures because we want there to still be kind of an aura of magic around this because it's not done yet. All right, so a week after I get fired, we go to Belleville to see the grandkids on a pre-planned trip. On Friday we arrive, and on Saturday morning we are on Main Street in Belleville. We walk into a coffee shop as usual, but we both have a different experience there. I order a coffee, and Steve says, "Do you mean I can order a Bloody Mary at 9 a.m.?" And so anyway, so we have coffee and we have what we need to get our morning going, and we're walking down the street and we look up and we see a 110-year-old
former bank that was a jewelry store.
Former
and it was
bank.
So fancy, and we were like, wow.
It looked like a Greek temple.
I wonder if there's another building in town that could be.
Oh, that's right. And then we saw ours. There are two buildings in town. One's a jewelry store, and one is an insurance company. So we see this building, and we decide that, wow, this is amazing. Steve touches base with our friend on the Chamber of Commerce, who says, well, why don't you ask him if you could lease some space in that lobby for a bookstore? So we did. We marched right in with no fear at all, because we have no expectations. We cannot have any expectations. So we walk right in, introduce ourselves. Long story short, in a couple of hours, the owners of this building are calling us from the East Coast to say, we would love a bookstore in town. Everybody would love a bookstore in town.
He said 30 days ago we would say no, but
this
we'll
is
think
a great
about
idea.
renting or leasing the space.
So we said, great, we're interested. I'm unemployed. We have no capital. We have nothing. Love your building. Love the place. Hope to play. We'll be in touch. So we come back here, and we are pounding the pavement for capital and learning the hard way about a lot of things. But we do realize that we live in a home here in Salt Lake City that could be the key to all of our prayers. But before this happens, the week of Thanksgiving, we contact the owners of this building and tell them we're still interested. And they said, well, that's good, because you better move quickly, because we've decided that renting it to you makes no sense. It's too expensive, there's different variables, but we'll tell you what, we'll sell you the building. If you want it, we'll sell it to you. But you have to move now, because it's not on the market, and if you don't buy it now, it's gonna go on the market next week.
So then we have 2 real estate properties that we're interested in, both that need a lot of work, and the house that I was in love with needed to be set aside because we needed to find something that we could move into that was move-in ready.
Yeah,
so
Charles Street was going to cost, so we were finding out, cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to get it move-in ready.
But it was also a little side note. There was when it came back on the market, I went to see it, and then there was a lady that came afterwards from the Preservation Society. And quickly I realized that her pockets were deeper than mine. So swallowing my pride, I sold myself to her as an interior designer that could help her design her space.
Which is another example of just opening your mind, your heart up to whatever it is possibly going to be. When he told me this story after the fact, I couldn't believe it.
The law of detachment, and not having the need to hold, the monkey with the hand through the cage, holding on to a specific thing, to an apple outside the cage when I had an apple behind me the whole time. And so that was an interesting, all through this class that we were doing, law of intention of desire and then law of detachment, that we were having these experiences. It was so amazing how timing was just synonymously flowing together.
And about that time, all of us figured out at the same time, oh my God, we're taking a class. Everything we're learning in the class is coming out in our lives as demonstration of this amazing experience. And it could really be no other way that we look back at it. So we returned to Utah. Go ahead.
So December 8th, Lana Cairns came over, and we were struggling still how we were going to put this together to make it work. And you want to talk about that treatment prayer?
Yeah. So Lana came over several times to the house, and we'd light a fire and have candles, and we'd pray, the 3 of us together. And in this particular prayer on the 8th, we knew we had to get some focus, because we're going to possibly buy a building and build a bookstore in it, but we have to have a place to live. And despite Steve's deep love for Charles, something else probably needed to happen. So we prayed on it. And once again, we said we want everything, didn't we? We want it all. And this was going out on such an emotional, spiritual limit, those moments. But we prayed for everything. We prayed for absolutely every angle that we needed to be covered, and knowing that it would be, knowing that we didn't have to worry about how. So that day we prayed about finding a house that we could live in. And the next morning,
45 Pennsylvania.
45 Pennsylvania Avenue was on Steve's phone.
Wonderful house that's listed for $100,000, move-in ready. And long story short, they're both under contract, set to close on the 31st of January. So we're still in the middle of the process.
Yeah, we're definitely in the middle of the process.
And the thing about the middle of this process also has been like the waiting game, and how can we keep our heads on straight without worrying of what could possibly go wrong. And really it is, again, that affirmative prayer that we are continually meditating and affirming that things are going to work out with the path of least resistance, with what is good for us in our lives, and trusting that if it's not good for us, then it's not going to happen.
So we were trying to find money to buy this bank, but we tell them we want it. So Thanksgiving is here. We tell them we are committed to the building. We will have the money, and we decide to sell the house. Selling the house here in Salt Lake City came around so quickly. Well, as everything did, you guys. Absolutely every piece of this. So we decided that our bag of money is what we're living in. We don't want to sell it. We as Utahns, Salt Lake City, everyone here understands. If we sell our house here, how would we ever get back in, right? But right now, that didn't matter. The path of least resistance. Here we had talked about this money bag we have on one hand, and on the other hand, we're like, we have no money. We've got all this money, but we don't have any money to buy what we want. Until we look at it from a different perspective, and suddenly everything made a lot more sense. Oh, and P.S., through this, my mother is supporting us completely. Steve's family is supporting us completely. Everyone sees the potential, and we're just going with it. So on December 9th, we agreed to sell the house. On December 10th, the realtors, dear friends through the bookstore, say, we'll sell your house, but it's December. It's cold, it's Utah. These people don't buy houses right now. These people are shopping for Christmas and having family parties. But if you want to do it, we got to do it now because this weekend is the last weekend before Christmas and we should have an open house. So on Tuesday, we decided to sell the house, and by Thursday, we had emptied 2/3 of our house so that we could staging it for photographs and et cetera. Okay, quickly, and part of that was, what do you do with our stuff? Well, we manage these apartments next to our house for my mom, and there have been 2 apartments that we haven't been able to rent for a couple of months. Just a thorn in my side. Don't we have enough going on? We've got these vacant apartments to boot. Oh, we have to move all of our stuff.
Great use as a storage unit.
Why don't we use one of them as a storage unit? And then Steve says, oh, we have a roommate and a housemate that need housing.
And so both of them are moving into both of those apartments.
So why don't we move into those apartments? Okay. And so we empty the house, and on Friday the house goes on the market. On Saturday we have an open house where no one should come, but 25 people do.
The first person came 3 hours early, and I was like, hey, welcome. The open house isn't until noon, but let me show you the backyard. And I chatted them up for a while, and ultimately they're the ones who bought the place.
Who put on the house. And by the following Tuesday, we were under contract. So the house is done. And our house closes on Tuesday of this week. So everything is falling into place. We get an apartment manager for my mother. There's a local apartment manager who is very much like her and is going to be able to take care of a lot of those things that we have been taking care of. So that's all working out. And then we get to Christmas. Christmas passes. We've made our deposits and the earnest money on the buildings and so forth. And on January 1st, we drive Steve in his car to St. Louis. Oh, because he's got a job. He's already got a job lined up.
And in essence of time, there's so many stories and so many ways that Spirit has showed up in our lives, and we are so grateful and happy to share. There was one major thing, though, when we were thinking of opening a bookstore in this community that's revitalizing their main street, and the experiences that Rob has had with bookseller events and people, that it really is a third space where people go to. You go to work, you go to church, and then you go to these other places to hang out. And so we're really setting up this place in the community that is classified as a book desert at the moment. And again, it's been so amazing in the last 6 weeks. Everyone that we've talked to there either know the building or are so excited about downtown in Belleville. And of course, I've resisted sharing any pictures on Facebook, just because until it's in our name on the 31st, we want to make sure.
But he's telling everybody, and everybody that he's encountered in Illinois is so excited and want to work with us, because we know that book people are book people, and everybody's going to want to be a part.
But there was a moment when it was like, okay, this is actually bigger than us. It's not just a feather in our cap. It's not just something that's good that we're doing. It is a service to a community. There was a lady in the salon that's business and marketing tequilas and how much money she can make. And I said, it's really something we're doing because it makes us happy and it's going to help people be happy. It's giving back also. It's not.
Well, she said to you, are there money in books? No, there aren't. But there is knowledge in books, and that's the important point. That takes us to our final law in the class that we realized this was for us, and that is the law of Dharma. Dharma is your calling. Dharma is your spiritual reason. And when we realized that we had our hands on something that would bring other people knowledge, we knew we had something there. Belleville is east of St. Louis, 30 miles, and directly between Belleville and St. Louis is the notoriously crime-ridden city of East St. Louis. In 1993, it had the highest homicide rate in the country. Its population has dropped from $93,000 in the 50s to 25,000 now. It's desolate, it's depressing, it's sad, and it's right next to where we are. Well, we've turned from a fear into an opportunity. We are embracing the racial inequalities, we are embracing the racial differences between everyone there, because that's what a bookstore does. Steve called us a third space, and I'm going to correct you just a little bit. You said the first place is home, the second place you said is church, but the second place is work. The first place is home, the second place is work, and the third place is where you go to be with the people you love. This church is a third space, a third place. This is where we go to be other than work and at home.
That's right.
So we know that this place has got a potential, and that by its nature, a bookstore is going to have this thing. Through my process, I've learned that I can embrace being gay and being Native American, and in doing so, that has enabled us to suddenly be eligible for a lot of financial aid that we had no idea was available before. Suddenly, there are bookseller organizations that are willing to give us huge amounts of money to support BIPOC event programming, and we're doing that because we're embracing exactly what we are. So here we are in mid-January. Steve came home last night. The house closes on Tuesday. The cars get shipped away on Wednesday.
The movers are coming on
Thursday.
Thursday.
Movers are coming on Thursday, and we fly away on Friday. Yeah. So our bookstore is called Belleville Books. BellevilleBooks.com, net or org. We own it all. It's going to be a full-service bookstore, open 7 days a week in downtown Belleville. Parades march by our building year-round. Street festivals take place on the street year-round. And all they've needed all this time was a bookstore. So thank you all very much for your love and your support through all of this. We treasure you all so much. Oh, my God, one more thing. One more thing, Raj. One more thing. What? You got one? The Center for Spiritual Living. Where are we going to go to be with people like you? Online. Well, that's indeed what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is use these services to share there. But we realized that there was a Center for Spiritual Living right in Belleville up until the time of the pandemic. Yeah, and that means what? That there are religious scientists all over the place. And so as soon as we get on our feet, we're going to start a study group and do something in the church for the public every Sunday morning. Yeah.
And just on that, they do have a center that's 45 minutes west of us. I was able to attend last week, and it was amazing. Someone did an oration of Martin Luther King's speech, "I Have a Dream." And I just want to say the time to dream, and just to, the different opportunities that come. And it's been amazing to be able to share this experience with different people, and this is one angle that we've got. There's so many different angles that different people can achieve, and I just want to. I want to express my love for you. It's so. I mean, thank you. What a wonderful place to be. Thank you, and thank you to my family for coming here. Also, please, everybody, give them a hand because they're so fabulous.
Ozzy and Arlo and Lydia. Yay. Yeah. All right. May I pray? Yes? All right, because that's what we do here is we pray. So as we are here together as community and family, and all of you sharing our dream and celebrating this wonderful future that we have manifested. And we share it all with you, because we know that it is all possible for each of us. We know that there is one great spirit in the universe. This universal spirit goes by so many names. Universal Spirit, God, Lord, divine creation,
The great
maker.
organizing deity.
Yes, God, the great organizing deity. Buddha, Muhammad, whatever you call it and wherever it is spirit. All of us are on one path, following spirit. And because there is only one spirit, we know that we are part of that spirit. It's undeniable that if spirit created all of this, spirit created us. If spirit created us, everything in us is God. Everything in us is spirit. Everything we express, everything we think, everything we feel is God. There's nothing too small. There's nothing too large. There is no bad. There is no good. There is only God. Only God. Only God. And today, we celebrate that. We celebrate our friendships. We celebrate love. We celebrate this center that has brought us together. This center that exists in prayer and in reality to hold us up, to hold us together, and to move us forward into the individual directions of our own divine light. Because we are each spiritual beings having human experiences. We are grateful.
So grateful.
So grateful for everything and everyone. Gratitude is where it's at. An attitude of gratitude is salutary, and we rest in that constantly, and are so grateful for everyone here and for everyone within earshot of our voice and for this experience with you today. So, we set it free, we let it be, because we know that it is so, and it is perfect just the way it is. And together, please say with me, and so it is.